It's a shit sandwich with shit for bread, too.
Papa Palpatine.
Okay, another desert planet.
That was the other thing.
Oobah. 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 Oobah.
Baby bird spitting chewed up fucking worms of the original trilogy into our mouths.
10 pounds of shit into a 5-pound bag.
Okay, another lava planet.
I would have welcomed if one of those robots had soothingly said Oobah to me after watching this movie.
Star Wars! Palpatine is the Demogorgon combined with Voltron.
It was like Boba Fett and Ozymandias had a baby.
Occasionally they could dip their lightsabers into the marshmallow and create s'mores. It would be nice.
Broadcasting live from inside the power band, this is The Blah. In this episode, nobody dies. I'm your host, The Wolverine, along with Jarhigo.
Yo.
And C-Lab forever.
Howdy.
Folks, this week on the podcast, we have a very special treat for you. No, it's not another Christmas movie. No, it's not the Star Wars Christmas special, but it is the new Star Wars film, Rise of Skywalker. We were all fortunate enough to see this film in the theaters, and now we're going to be discussing it for you. Let's dive right in.
Opening question that I just randomly thought of. Did you guys have decent crowd? Like, how was your crowds? Stoked? Didn't give a shit? Booing? Happy? Clapping?
They clapped at the end.
Did they?
Yes, they did. And it was kind of a strange mix of people. I went at like the 4 p.m. show, and it was like, you know, retirees, old people, but yet some teenagers that just got out of school kind of a thing. Like, it was a really...
Okay.
I was the rare in the middle between the old folks and the youngins.
So the Golden Girls and the youngins liked it, huh?
They did. They clapped.
And I think you meant to say the Golden Girls and the younglings.
That's exactly what I meant to say. I apologize.
It wasn't a very enthusiastic clap, but it was a clap nonetheless.
It was like a golf clap.
It was a very, yeah.
There was kind of crickets at mine.
It was, okay, I'll start with crowd size. So the theater I saw it in it's a newer theater, and they have like those big lazy boy chairs that recline, and they're heated. And that being said, the theater was, I'm going to say, 2/3 full. It wasn't quite 75%.
Yeah, right.
There was zero cheering. There was zero clapping. The only comments discussed were probably coming out of my mouth, and which I at one point realized that I was audibly doing that, and I toned it down because I didn't want to upset anybody else's experience.
So what are y'all's high-level thoughts? Benny, why don't you go first?
High-level thoughts.
What'd you think of the movie?
I cannot wait to hear what Jarhigo says.
I wish what I had to say was going to be funny, but I didn't hate this film. Not to say that I really liked it either. It was a very meh sort of experience. I really do not envy J.J. Abrams his job for this.
No.
It was it's a shit sandwich with shit for bread too, and poor JJ had to serve that up. So that's where I'm going to leave it for now.
Yeah, I tend to agree. What about you, Kev?
Okay, here's the high path. The high path is that this movie and the previous ones, not so much Force Awakens, but definitely the last one, have gone so far afield that and I really don't mean this in a trying to be funny way, they are now starting to take away from the original films and the other good films in the series.
Yeah, I can see that.
I was getting bummed out because the original 3 in particular are so iconic, and the prequels, while they have their flaws, do have some cool elements, and there's some great lore in there. These are just, I don't know what the hell is going on. But I definitely echo what Ben said, like JJ, that is the toughest job in the galaxy. There's no question about that.
Yeah, he had a pretty high bar that no one could clear.
Absolutely.
And maybe that ties into my high level where, like, I feel like no one could clear that bar because the bar was being set by, at the time, a movie making machine. I feel like Disney has come a long way with like Marvel and some of the other properties, and has done some interesting things. Like, they definitely have some talented people, and it's not even really to smack talk Disney at all. And they're starting to listen regarding the issues with Star Wars, and like Mandalorian's doing well. And, they took some feedback on some of the earlier movies. And so I think it's starting to improve. But this trilogy was kind of the first go round, and it's clear that they never really had a roadmap for it. And this is the result. And it's just kind of unfortunate, because if this was another trilogy, if this wasn't like the last 3 movies in the 9-movie arc, and it was just like a random trilogy about Rey, I'd be like, yeah, cool, that was interesting. It's kind of like a reboot take on the original trilogy. But because it's the last 3 movies, and it just is a pretty much straight up reboot of the first 3, it just doesn't push the story forward. So it's just kind of weird.
I agree. It's just like a mire. It's just a quagmire of the same old, same old.
Yeah, but similar to what you said, Ben, it wasn't terrible, but yeah, quagmire is a good word for it.
No, there's elements of this movie that I liked, that I thought were cool. There's no question about that. But at the same time, it's just mired in its own, sort of glued to the original source material. I mean, that's really what the problem is.
Well, I mean, you can hate the original source material or love the original source material when it comes to the prequel trilogy, but at least the prequel trilogy, like, told more of the story instead of telling the story again.
Yeah,
exactly. So by virtue of that, rather, the prequel trilogy will now be elevated because of these films, because those films were not loved by many people. But I still enjoy watching them because of really what you said, Chad, when we were talking about The Mandalorian, the lore. Like, there's great lore there, and you get to see more of the worlds and what is going on and how that microcosm works. And I think that was done really well in terms of layers of detail by Lucas. There's some of that in this, but not really. They just keep going back to the same bag and pulling more out of it.
Well, every time it starts to gather some steam, they just do a callback to, in this case, Jedi, Return of the Jedi. Like, you're like, oh, this is interesting. Call back to Jedi. Okay, that's weird. Why are you copying Jedi? Oh, the next 10 minutes is interesting. Call back to Jedi. Okay, that's weird. It just keeps yanking you out of it, I reckon. But
yeah, I agree with that. So it's now taking away from the original films and the love that is there by many people for the original films. It's now taking away from that because they're dipping into that bag, or as you said, they're kind of going back to Jedi, going back to Jedi, going back to Jedi. So we really haven't gotten anything new.
No, I mean, The Mandalorian is probably the closest thing we've got to something new. And maybe, Solo and Rogue One were...
Rogue One, for sure.
I mean, they were great, but they weren't new per se. They were kind of like fleshing out existing kind of gaps, I love Rogue One, but Rogue One tells the story of getting the Death Star plans, where, like Attack of the Clones, for example, tells the story of the Clone War. And we talked last show, I think it was, or maybe a couple shows ago, about how sometimes it's nice to just leave lore as lore and not explain it because you kind of regret it. Whereas Rogue One is the opposite, or Rogue One is an example of like a good execution of explaining some lore.
Absolutely.
But Mandalorian is like the first new material that's not, taking a story from another movie or whatever. And I don't know. I just feel like this trilogy just had such a huge opportunity, and the cast was really enjoyable and would have been an amazing trilogy if someone had some cojones and, came up with some new stories. But here we are. Emperor Palpatine, everybody.
Papa Palpatine.
Papa Palpatine.
Go for Papa Palpatine.
Why they decided to just, much like Rick in Magnum PI, just rush into the fight and walk out with a black eye, I have no idea. Why they decided to go directly to, episode 7, 8, and 9, I have no idea. Like, it makes no sense to me. And they went off. It's clear they were so half-cocked. Like, they didn't even have a fucking plan. They just Leroy Jenkins fucking straight into the fray.
That's a great point.
Yeah, just the fact that they didn't have a plan, and the fact that, Rian Johnson came in the middle, and then JJ just picked it back up again. Like, do you think potentially it could have been better if JJ had done all 3?
I do. 100%.
I think so too.
Better doesn't mean great, but it certainly would be better.
Yeah.
Right, but they should have given him, like, total control or more control.
I think that they did in the first one, generally speaking, but Rian Johnson just threw half the shit out the window. Like, I feel like one of the only reasons we have Palpatine is because Rian Johnson killed Snoke off and we never fucking saw him again, for example.
Yeah.
Right, and then they conveniently explained all that away.
Exactly.
Which I did not care for one bit.
Well, they had to. Like,
yeah.
You know, JJ essentially had to explain away, you know, on 4 or 5 different occasions shit from the previous movie that he didn't buy into.
Yeah, it's almost as if you were going to undertake watching these movies again, you could just skip Last Jedi completely now.
You really kind of can, yeah.
You could just skip it. Because everything is kind of explained well enough, I think, in Rise of Skywalker.
Yeah. There was an article that popped up for me, which was George Lucas kind of talking about Force Awakens when it came out years ago, and he criticized the film, saying that it lacked originality. And at the time, I think people were just kind of like, "Okay, old man, fuck off. You know, your prequels sucked. Like, just shut up." And 3 movies in now, like, he's 100% correct.
He is 100% correct.
The new trilogy completely lacks originality. It's just a rehash of the original trilogy. That's high level. Let's maybe move into some of the meatier bits. Anyone have any notes or anything?
Oh, yes. Lots of nerds, which is no surprise for a Star Wars movie.
Totally.
Then I wrote, this is before the movie even started, I was not stoked. And that was when I was reading the, what do you call the scroll up there at the beginning? I actually thought that was poorly done. It was, I don't know, the way it was written, I thought it was too, like, modern colloquial dialogue. And that may seem like an insane nitpick, but there was some particular thing in there that I just was like, really? And
the thing that got me was the Palpatine thing, where I was completely blind. I had no idea of anything. I haven't watched any trailers, and it was like, Palpatine's back. And you're like, first of all, what? And second of all, that's in the crawl? But
I know. And why are they saying that in the crawl? Like, that's like such a huge reveal. You know, like, I don't know. I'm with you on that too, Chad. My third note was, this already looks dumb. Fourth note, lava planet, snore. Fifth note, Kylo fight was cool in the beginning.
That was pretty cool.
I thought that fight sequence was cool. I really liked it. I thought it was well done.
On that topic though, like the first, not that scene, but like the first 15 or so minutes, like I'm not sure how I feel about how jumpy it was. It was all over the place. Did you guys catch that vibe from the first 15, 20 minutes?
Yeah, yes, I did. And that was something else I didn't care about for the entire film, because I felt like that happened all throughout it.
I feel like it echoes what you were saying, Ben, where like, you know, delete Rian Johnson's middle movie and JJ's got a lot of catching up to do in this one. And it was kind of forced to be jumpy as a result of him trying to glaze over the second movie.
He was trying to cram 10 pounds of shit into a 5-pound bag.
Totally, man.
It's just in keeping with my shit analogy.
What do you got for notes, Benny? Or
the first thing that annoyed the shit out of me was the light skipping.
Oh, like jumping through hyperspace skipping?
Yeah,
that was weird.
You know, I'm like, okay, they've never done this. Like the closest thing they did was in Force Awakens when Han jumps directly onto the planet, and that seemed far-fetched to me. And this is just like, what? Come on.
Yeah.
That's just silly. And then like somehow the fucking TIE fighters are like chasing them through all of this, you know? It just, I was like, okay, that seemed like they were trying to ramp up the excitement with something that just was stupid, you know? Like it didn't need to be there, and it just seemed very far-fetched to me.
Yeah, and similarly, they land on the planet and then everyone has a big argument about it.
Yeah, let's just high level, the bickering between everybody in this was just kind of cringy and annoying, and seemed just like it didn't, you know, it was like they were trying to make the characters familiar, but it just didn't hit the beat for some reason.
Wow, dude, you could not have said that any better, because the dialogue was one of my major sticking points.
Yeah.
And how it was delivered. That was it, Ben. You just said what I was trying to come up with in my head, was that they were trying to make it sound familiar, and it ended up just being really dumb. And again, it was too much like the way actors, whatever, would speak in a contemporary comedy film, as opposed to a fantasy film set in its own microcosm. Follow me?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Like it just, and it started at the chess table.
Oh yeah, it's like do you think he cheats? No. I'm having a hard time remembering a lot of it at this stage because I wasn't super focused on the little bits and bobs. Like I've got some notes that we'll get to, but
well, yeah, and I would like to say too that this is only one watch. I would like to watch it again so I can sit and absorb it and not take notes. Not that was like impeding me in any way, but I would like to sit and watch it again. But I would say probably only one more time is all I can bear. I came home last night feeling empty inside, and I needed something to fill that void. So I pulled out my phone and I opened the Netflix app, and I immediately turned on Solo, which I had been wanting to watch again. And I was very pleased and very entertained watching that. And I watched it end to end with no interruptions. I didn't have anybody pulling my attention away. So I really enjoyed that. And again, it kind of goes back to what we were saying about, and what I kind of opened with about, these movies are buoying up any flaws in the other movies and sort of dragging those better movies down. But I really, when you take Solo, like Solo came out and it kind of got lackluster reviews, and it was kind of like, okay, but like now you watch it and you're like, yeah, this is really good. It is good.
Yeah, and they freaked out because it didn't make $17 billion, and it's like, yeah, so what? It's still good.
Right, exactly. So anyway, I kind of got down a little bit of a cul-de-sac there. I was at the first mailbox, I think, and we were talking about the dialogue and the stupid banter. I was complimenting Jarhigo's language skills.
What you just said, Kev, kind of reminds me a little bit of what Benny was getting at a minute ago, where like they rushed in and did the final 3 movies before doing anything else, and how much better it could have been if they had made, Rogue One and Solo and a bunch of other movies to kind of gain some ground under their feet. And it reminded me of like the Marvel movies, where like there's a reason why Infinity War and Endgame were quite good, and it's because there were 20 movies leading up to it and building into it.
Exactly.
The movies wouldn't even have to connect necessarily like Endgame and Infinity War did, but if they got a half a dozen to a dozen Star Wars movies under their belt, or TV shows, that trilogy, they'd have so much more time to develop it with exactly the same cast. Let's just, in an imaginary universe where that's possible. I really feel like you hit the nail on the head, Ben, they just rushed in.
Yeah, they should have got their feet wet with, something else first. It seems that it was, they had to have some. Did they think we were stupid? Like, that's what it seems like. It's like they took us for a bunch of just idiots, like, oh yeah, we can just throw some lightsabers and some spaceships in there and it'll be fucking great. Everybody's going to love it. It's going to be awesome. And they just didn't think anything through, And then, like in the case of like The Last Jedi, like they're mad at the fans. It's like, oh, well, nothing we do is good enough for you, and you're just a bunch of privileged white men who, like they took it there, and it's like, no, that's not what's going on here. Like who the fuck are you making the movies for in the first place? Like, duh. Like, of course you're doing it for the fans. I mean, so I don't understand what the thought process was. For Disney with this whole thing. Like, it just makes no sense to me.
Yeah, I want to jump in on what you just said. And one thing you just said, Ben, was that they were getting upset at the fans. That is a very dangerous headspace to be occupying, number one. Number two, I feel like the machine has gotten so large, and the logs they need to throw in there to stoke that fire are too big. And, everybody seems to be looking for the next mega franchise after Marvel completely, like, beyond grand slammed it. And it's like, you got to be careful.
Yeah. Just to quickly chuck something out there, when you were talking about like who they make the movies for, Ben, in terms of the fans, it could be misinterpreted that you were saying like the movies are being made for privileged white dudes. And I know that's not what you were saying. And it's worth just saying out loud that there's plenty of room and plenty of space for exploring all kinds of different things and having different casts and diversity and all that kind of stuff. Like, there's plenty of room for it.
Oh, yeah. No, I wasn't referring to that. I was saying, I had heard that, from certain people, like they were trying to make it as if that was what was going on with fans complaining about it, and I don't think that's it's like, first of all, guys, nobody likes this shit. Yeah. Like, I don't know who you're trying to make it for, but, like just trying to point the finger at like my generation and guys like us that aren't happy with these movies, and trying to make it seem like, oh, well, you guys have to check your privilege. You just don't like it because there's diversity and all this stuff. And that has nothing to do with it. It's something completely different.
And I just wanted to throw that in there to spare you the email.
Oh, yeah. Thank you. Because I didn't really finish my thought there. And I wanted to get back to that or tell you to strike it from the record. Because I didn't get to finish my thought on it.
Yeah. No, I figured that was where you wanted to go with it. And I think that's a great point. And I think, my take on it is a little bit different than the comment you made of like, do they think we're stupid? Like, I know you were saying it flippantly, but I kind of feel like they were too risk averse. And I think you touched on it in the Mandalorian episode, or we spoke about it as a group in the Mandalorian episode with like, risk aversion means you're just going to do plain Jane bullshit, or too much risk means you risk some serious problems by fucking things up. So it's a fine thing to thread that needle. It's really difficult to thread that needle. But it feels to me like the major risk aversion to taking George Lucas's Star Wars universe and realizing how much of a juggernaut you had could make them be really risk averse in the very beginning. And it further cements the point that you made, Ben, of like, they probably should have done some other movies first, because the risk aversion led to baby bird spitting chewed up fucking worms of the original trilogy into our mouths. It's like, I don't want chewed up food. I just want like some legit, like a legit meal. Thank you.
Yeah.
I want to say for the people listening that I can't speak for you two, but for me, I did not read one single thing about this movie. I didn't look up a score, Rotten Tomatoes, anything. I was completely blind walking into this. I wanted to have the purest experience. So I don't want people out there to think that we read a bunch of stuff, watched a bunch of reviews on YouTube, whatever, and that's coloring how we feel about it. This is purely my reaction from the film. That being said, I will now respond to what you guys said. We have actually spoken about that particular topic numerous times on this show. And one time we were talking about, I can't remember which episode, just the idea of making something to make money versus making something to make a piece of art or to make a film. Your intent is to make a great story, tell a great story, make a great film, make a great piece of art. Just do it. It's going to resonate. It's not going to resonate. Sometimes great pieces come out. We've talked about this on some of the cult films that we've done. Great pieces will come out and nobody's into it. And then all of a sudden it turns into a cult juggernaut. And that's really the best space you can occupy, because that's when it has the most longevity. That's when it truly ages in an immortal way.
And the original trilogy did that.
But when you don't do that and you're just trying to, like I said, throw another log on the fire, it's dangerous. Because it's like you end up, and we talked about this, not really pleasing anybody. And then the fire's not growing. You're not making the money that you want to make. And it just starts to backfire and turn into a mess.
Yeah, I didn't mean to change the topic back to what we discussed earlier, but I definitely think it was worth touching on those points and really kind of crystallizing some of it.
No, absolutely, man.
Because I completely agree.
Mm-hmm. Perfect. Now let's get back to more humorous notes from my notebook. Palpatine. It's either Palpatine Hut or Palpatine Hall. I thought that when he first walked into like the chamber with the large statues, I thought that was really cool. I was like, okay, this is like some sort of temple of the Sith, like a secret dark temple, like kind of going down the path of like some more cool Star Wars lore. And I was like, wow, this looks really cool. And the whole, kind of opening the idea of, him in the single ship going to this place, like, it was definitely had a really great amount of theatricality to it. And I was like, okay, this is cool. Like, what's going on here? And then like all the ships rose out of the ground and I wrote ships rising meh. And then I wrote, I didn't write this, but I know what I was doing when I was writing it is I wrote final order and I was rolling my eyes.
So I don't know if you guys read any of the old Star Wars books back in the day, like me, like the nerd that I am.
No.
But Timothy Zahn wrote one of the first kind of trilogies of books after the Star Wars trilogy. So it was kind of a really early example of the expanded universe. before a billion books had been written. And did you read that one, Benny?
I didn't read that one, no.
I didn't either when I was a kid, and then I read it recently just because I'd always wanted to read it and never took the time. So I read it a few months ago, and it's not the best thing in the world, but they actually lift really heavily from that trilogy in this movie. So in that, there's Palpatine clones, very similar to kind of what you see with, Palpatine not being dead. And then evidently I saw something that was like Snoke was meant to be a Palpatine clone, but whatever, we'll just leave that. Who gives a shit? But the Katana fleet was like a missing huge fleet of former Republic ships. And so like the kind of Star Destroyer massive fleet cribbed straight from that too. So I just wanted to chime in with that.
Well, now see, when you say that, like a lost fleet of former Republic ships, that adds, in one sentence, you just changed the entire meaning behind that. Like when I saw it, I was like, oh my God, here we go. And there's like literally a million ships. And I'm like rolling my eyes.
Yeah, and they're like zombie crawling out of the ground.
Right. Like Final Order. Are you kidding me? And then when you add that little bit in right there, that makes it totally different.
Yeah. So I don't know if they were like trying to lift from it specifically, but they definitely lifted. And it's worth, I'll check it in the show notes, but the comic book for that growing up has some awesome art, and so I'd recommend checking that out.
Right on.
You said you had some other notes on the...
Oh, yeah, just the last one on this particular page is Shark has jumped.
Yeah. I found a lot of the Deus Ex Machina bullshit really annoying, like all the obvious plot stuff. There was I don't know if you've ever seen any of the comedy YouTube channel, like pitch meeting videos. You ever seen any of those?
No, but that sounds funny.
It's just like this dude who plays both characters, plays the guy pitching to the executive and plays the executive. And it just like takes the absolute piss out of whatever is being pitched. And I'll put it in the show notes. You guys should check it out. I just want to quote a bit of it regarding the obvious plot devices. And he just says, well, the good guys want to get to Palpatine, but to do that, they need to get a thing. But to get that thing, they're going to have to go to a place and get another thing, and then go to another place and get another thing. And it was just like a perfect encapsulation of the film for me, because it was just like, oh, no, we got to crash in the perfect space to get our fucking clue dagger, which then shows us where another clue is when we hold it up to our eye and squint, Yeah. A la Goonies, actually. Yeah, and like I'm fine with it. Like I was saying earlier, we could spend all fucking day nitpicking to this thing to hell, and I don't think that would be any fun for anybody, and probably not that much fun to listen to. But just like Rey healing a snake, like obviously that's going to happen somewhere else. 3PO can't translate the Sith shit, like just super obvious shit.
Yeah.
After the Millennium Falcon comes screaming into the movie, after about a minute, I was like, Poe is Han Solo, like. He is Han Solo. Like, he looked like Han Solo. He was dressed like Han Solo. He was acting like Han Solo. Like, he became Han Solo in this movie, So whether you're talking about rehashing, pulling from the same bag or whatever, like, he is Han Solo. Again, they've gone back to the bag, and it's just the same mold, if you will. A new thing has come out of the mold, and he's the new Han Solo.
Yeah, and then he lands, and both he and Finn are trying to kind of hook up with Rey, and they're it's the Han and Luke trying to get Leia thing, and you're just same shit, different movie, man.
Exactly right. There was a few things that I did like, and I did write those things down as well. Like, I really thought I enjoyed Leia training Rey. I thought that was a cool element.
Yeah, that was interesting.
No, it was very cool because, firstly, it's two women, and I was like, oh, that's nice to see. And I just thought that there was a cool dynamic there, and they sort of explored it, but, that would have been something that would have been worth putting a little more exploration into.
Which they probably would have had Carrie Fisher not died, I imagine.
Yeah, they might have. And, R.I.P. Carrie, that was really tragic because she was great. And I was very glad to see her in this film because I didn't think that we were going to see her in this film.
And they certainly did the best they could, considering, I think.
Absolutely. And I really thought that was a nice dynamic, having her being the trainer of Rey.
Yeah.
And a Jedi herself.
Yes.
Well, just in the sense that, like, similarly with these books, like, in the expanded universe, she never becomes a Jedi. She always stays a diplomat. And so, like, she's always kind of second fiddle to Luke as the, like, ultimate freaking master. And I like that they explored her training Rey, and then they further cemented her with her own lightsaber that she built herself, which is the mark of becoming a Jedi, et cetera, et cetera. Like, so similar to what you were saying, you like some things. I like that they made Leia a Jedi in this, which was unexpected considering how much of the expanded universe avoided that.
Yeah, I dig that for sure.
Yeah, I think, Force Awakens was sort of Han's send-off, and Last Jedi was Luke's send-off. I really feel like this movie was supposed to be Carrie's big moment,
Totally.
And it's a shame that she didn't get to be there for it. That being said, I was wondering how they were going to handle it, and even though they clearly used like old footage and, a lot of her lines were kind of vague, they did a really good job of weaving her into the movie, I thought. And I love that they explored, her being a Jedi. And I thought it was good that they had somebody training Rey. Rey definitely needed some training. She was definitely super powerful for just being like a, hapless Force sensitive. So the fact that she was getting some training, I think, is really good. But that clearly didn't happen in any of the other movies. But to get back to Carrie, I thought they did a good job. I was worried that they were going to bring in the CG, and they didn't. It was as good as it could be, and I really wish that she had been around to get her moment.
Yeah, I'm with you 100%.
Absolutely. Sorry, I meant to say absolutely.
I was totally down with the way that they tried to make the best out of the fact that she passed away, and Leia being a reasonably important part in the movie, considering that they weren't able to film any new footage or whatever.
Right.
From the perspective of the movie. Like, obviously, it's, getting her in a Star Wars movie is a lot less important than having her not be dead. Like, don't don't be confused by what my priorities are. But
right.
I liked how she was pretty pivotal towards the end with kind of the closure of the arc, and you had the kind of Obi-Wan style leaving clothes behind deaths. So, I mean, regardless of whether that was good as a plot point or not, like I'm glad they at least attempted to make it so that she was like a really critical part of the film.
Yeah, they did the best they could.
They did.
That said, the American Ninja Warrior training sequence was pretty fucking silly. We're like dancing around in a fucking jungle it was just like, okay, whatever.
Yeah, there was also one of the Sith ships, like it had like really nasty exhaust. And I wrote smoke in space.
Yeah.
I was
Yeah.
like, come on, man.
It's like, what are you talking about?
And then there was a character somewhere in there that reminded me of Gammy Num Num from Master of Disguise with Dana Carvey. I wrote the note down and I can't remember which character. Gammy Num Num. It was a character that talked like that. But yeah, we'll throw a little clippy in there.
Well, you're a tall drink of water, and I just love moisture. What? Allow me to introduce myself. My name is Gammy. Gammy Num Num.
Some other things that I really liked about this movie, I thought that tank tread vehicle on the desert planet was very cool. It was like a giant tank tread, and then the car was inside it. I was like, that's interesting. And then we come to find out that it's piloted by none other than Lando Calrissian. And before you guys jump in here, I'm going to say that Lando is still a boss. That was one of my notes.
Definitely.
I was really happy to see Billy Dee in the movie. He looks fantastic, just like Carl Weathers. And I was really glad to see some of these older characters. I'm pretty sure there was a little teeny snippet of Wedge in there at the end as well. Mm-hmm. Yeah, okay, great. I wasn't imagining things. But Billy Dee was great. And he was playing the character as he originally played it. And I was like, I wish everybody else in this movie was doing what he's doing, just like the original film. Like, it was upsetting. But Billy Dee was great. And it was really great to see him. And I like how the inclusion of him in the film, the inclusion of the character, it was just awesome. I can't say enough about that.
Yeah, it was great to see him.
I agree. That was the other thing. That was my other thing that I liked about the movie was Billy Dee. That's Lando. Yeah.
And I hadn't watched the trailer, so I didn't know he was in it, because I watched the trailers this evening just to kind of see what I missed, and he was in the trailer. And I was like, oh, it's just kind of a shame that he was in the trailer. I guess they must have leaked or something.
Yeah, I also thought, and again, this is sort of like the kind of lore stuff that I like, is I love seeing like interesting vehicles and planets and creatures and all that sort of thing. And those motorbikes that those two first order, final order, whatever order troopers were riding, chasing them through the desert were super cool. It was like a single kind of tank tread. Mm. They each had two riders on them, and then the rear rider was sort of the gunner with the
jetpacks, brah.
With the jetpacks on, and I was dude, who doesn't love a good jetpack, man? I mean, come on.
Everyone loves jetpacks.
Exactly.
Sounds like you had the same reaction I did to those, Bene, where it was just kind of like, hey, look, speeder bikes. Hey, look, Return of the Jedi forest chase.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, that whole scene just really more, it was everybody commenting on the flying stormtroopers that annoyed the shit out of me. Well, they fly now! They fly now! Like, everybody on that speeder said they fly now. Starting at the back with 3PO and then, like, moving to the front. Like, it's like, come on, is it really, like... I don't know. That whole thing fucking annoyed the shit out of me.
That's a good example of the dialogue that you were mentioning before being janky.
That's exactly, yeah, Ben. That's exactly what I was talking about. It's just the dialogue is too like from a contemporary film, like a contemporary comedy movie, and it's like it just doesn't work in this movie, and it's everywhere.
I didn't notice it at the time. I'd really like to pay attention to that on the rewatch. Like, overall, I think, like, I was pretty pleased, like, with the film. I was like, oh, this is pretty good. There's plenty of eye-rolling moments, and there's plenty of annoying bits and bobs, but, like, I kind of didn't pick up on the dialogue stuff, even though, I did catch things like they're flying now BS.
Well, yeah, certain things jump out to different people, too, at different times, so, And this is like a kind of a fatigue thing, because there was just definitely like general kind of Star Wars fatigue going on when I was watching this movie. Every planet is like an analog to, X something like Kamachi or whatever the name of that planet was Kimchi. Kimchi just, it was Tibet. It was like Tibet in the winter. I was like, all right. And it was like, okay, another desert planet. Okay, another lava planet. Okay, just, and then another Endor planet, like another, I don't know, just come on.
Come on.
I really like the droid smith, the little teeny dude.
Yeah?
Zuba Babu or whatever.
Baby Groot?
No, Babu. I don't know. He was just...
Yeah, Baby Groot.
Was that what you called him? Baby Groot?
Yeah.
Is that...
Baby Groot.
He was very funny. Especially at the end when C-3PO goes, when he gets his memory wiped, and then he goes, my name is C-3PO, Human Cycle Relations. And he goes, my name is Babu.
Babu Frick.
Yeah, Babu Frick. That was really great.
And then later, 3PO comments that he's his oldest friend.
Oh, yeah, that was funny. Did you guys catch the John Williams cameo?
No.
What? No.
John Williams had a cameo as one of the dudes in the cantina on Babu Frick's planet.
You mean John Williams, the composer?
Yeah, he's in it. He like shakes his head, and I was like, that looks like John Williams. And it was.
Wow, I didn't know. I did not notice that. That's a nice catch, nerdlinger.
Nerdy.
I remember thinking there were some neat creatures in that cantina.
Absolutely, a lot of cool creatures.
Neat critters.
Am I an asshole for saying like I'm kind of sick of cantinas? Every fucking planet has a cantina now.
Yeah, I mean,
fatigue, definite cantina fatigue.
Does that make me an asshole?
No, but I liked the creatures in that one. I thought there were some neat ones in there.
Yeah,
I remember just being like, oh, those are some neat critters. Like, That's it.
You're right, and at least in the prequel trilogy, we didn't have any of that. It was like everything was shiny and great, and it was the Republic, and it was
but there was though. Remember the dude that tried to sell death sticks to Obi-Wan?
True, right, but it wasn't like a scuzzy cantina, Ben, like in. The original, like it wasn't like in like Mandalorian, like now we're seeing this
classy joint.
Yeah, it was a classy joint.
It was like a Miami nightclub
with Jedis. We weren't seeing like the scuzzy cantina on the local backwater planet. I think it's just been done to death at this point.
Mm-hmm.
That said, I definitely buy into the Mandalorian. Like, there's a place for a cantina in the Mandalorian Wild West kind of stuff. It just doesn't need to be one in every freaking movie on every planet.
I agree. It fits there. I didn't realize this till I looked at the cast list, but Zuby, Poe's old friend on the Tibetan planet, was played by Kerry Russell, and she had the coolest. Sorry, I should probably cut that out. It's lame.
That's fine, yeah.
I had to look up who it was. I couldn't recognize her just from her eyes, but I was like, oh yeah.
Yeah, I'm a big Kerry Russell fan. I think The Americans, which played on FX, is one of the best things I've seen in the last 10 years. It's so good, and nobody watched it. It was critically acclaimed, but nobody watched it.
I need to watch that.
And yeah, highly recommend that. But anyway, she had her costume was so cool. It was so Flash Gordon, and I just loved it. It was like, the fabric suit with like the super shiny chrome gold accents and helmet. I was like, this is awesome, man. Like, I really dug that a lot.
Kind of had a bit of like an Ozymandias vibe, but kind of not really.
Yeah.
It was like Boba Fett and Ozymandias had a baby.
She had that collar that was similar to, or it's not a collar, I guess, but you know what I mean, like around the neck thing, like Ozymandias, yeah.
Yeah, that was cool. I wrote, okay, so here's something to ponder. I wrote this in my notes. Does this blow, or do I not care anymore?
I think it's just not caring anymore. I think it's just like knowing that this is like similar to literally the purpose of our Star Wars Must Die episode is like, I'm so fucking happy that the 9-movie saga is now fucking over. Like, bye. See you later.
Yeah.
See you later, and let's make some other stuff. Thank you very much. Bye.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of hope we don't see any more of those characters,
It's a shame.
Maybe those movies would be good, though. Like maybe the spin-off movies from these characters, like Poe Dameron movie or something along those lines. Might be interesting, might be better than what we got out of these sequels. But anyways, I guess that would be cool it could be cool if they did that. But other than that, I would rather just kind of forget that these movies exist and move on.
Wow. And that would be Jarhigo's final order, folks.
That's it.
They should have called this movie The Rise of Palpatine.
That would have been interesting, considering that it wasn't really a big surprise for those that watched the trailer. The teaser trailer finishes with Luke saying nobody leaves forever or something, and then Palpatine laughs. You have to be a fucking idiot not to pick that up.
That is so dumb to put that in the trailer, because they ruined so many great reveals. Like, if I could just take away the fact that I think that I really wish they just hadn't gone there with Palpatine. Like, that would have been a great reveal. Like, why would you put that in the trailer? It's like you're giving away everything in the trailer. Like, come on. Like, that element of theatricality, we talked about this a couple of episodes ago, and I actually spent some time with an older British actress this past week, and we both agreed that theatricality is just gone from the sort of general populace. It's like everybody needs to know everything, every behind the scenes thing, and how this was done and how this was made, and every blooper reel, and everybody just gives it up too. And the element of theatricality is gone. It's like you don't give away everything in the trailer. You whet people's appetite so they want to go see it.
And then you provide a bit of lore and don't explain what it means to give some gravity to the story, generally speaking.
Exactly, man. Whet people's appetite. Leave them wanting more. That's what theatricality is all about. And it's just, it has, been put on, I feel like it's been put on a ship, set fire, and set out to sea.
Viking funeral?
Yeah.
Yeah, it really upsets me. Yeah, like a Viking funeral. Exactly. Or Padme's funeral in the prequel trilogy or whatever. Anyway.
Hey, she just, she gave up the will to live.
Didn't they? They did something like that.
Oobah.
Chad's going meta back to our original episode. Oobah. Oobah. Oobah.
I can't explain it.
I think I would have welcomed if one of those robots had soothingly said Oobah to me after watching this movie.
Or how about
like half an hour? That would have been great.
Yeah.
Every time I sighed or like shook my head, it would just like tap me on the shoulder and go, Oobah,
Oobah.
Oobah.
Yeah, I agree. I cannot explain it, but she has lost the will to live. That was exactly Jarhigo and myself during this film. Yeah, no, the way it played out in the movie theater is that we were sitting there and Ben and I each had an Oobah robot. Every time we got upset, it would go, Oobah, Oobah. And then finally one of the patrons got upset and yelled at the robots, and the robot turned to that movie patron and said, I cannot explain it, but they have lost the will to live.
I thought you were going to say it turned to the patron and said, Oobah, Oobah.
Oh my god. Oh, that is so funny. Wow, I really like that. I mean, that either one of those two scenarios, either mine or Ben's with that little addendum, that would have been a better film to watch than what I actually watched. And if I was renaming this movie, it would be Star Wars, The Rise of Palpatine. And the opening should be the crawl with Bill Murray from that old SNL sketch going, Star Wars, nothing but Star Wars, whole lot of Star Wars up in the sky.
Now, is it The Rise of Palpatine, or is it The Rise of Papa Palpatine?
I would say Star Wars, Rise of Papa Palpatine.
Yeah, I'm down with that for sure. That is now what it's officially called on this show.
Yeah, and we're gonna go with we're gonna throw in a Papa Palpatine clip for all you folks at home, so you can enjoy that as well.
Go for Papa Palpatine.
Go for Papa Palpatine.
Darth Vader.
As absurd as that idea is, it would have been better if, we're introduced to Palpatine in this film and it's actually that version of Palpatine from Robot Chicken.
Oh my god, that would have been awesome, man, because I would have been laughing hysterically.
Yeah.
He just turns to the patron and says, Oobah. I'm sorry, that was so great.
I love how much you love it.
I love it. Oh my god, sorry. Okay, I'm okay. I had some other, just sort of, not necessarily funny, not necessarily bad, notes here. Kylo looks like Penguin Danny DeVito from Batman Returns in the scene when him and Rey are having a lightsaber battle, with all the water splashing around. Like, once he got wet, I was like, he looks like Danny DeVito from Batman Returns. and then later, which was super weird, was that Palpatine also looks like Penguin Danny DeVito from Batman Returns, because like his lips and mouth are all dark and his eyes are dark. And that was also very Danny DeVito Penguin from Batman Returns. So I really enjoyed that.
Yeah, maybe it's the Benny's favorite Batman lore coming back to bite him.
You just had to throw a fucking Batman reference in there, didn't you?
Sorry, dude.
Yep.
I'm really sorry.
It turns out Penguin's dad was Papa Palpatine.
Oobah.
Oobah.
Hang on. Before you change the subject, on that water Death Star lightsaber battle, I just one of the notes I had was, I think there needs to be like a lightsaber battle in a convenience store or something, because every lightsaber battle is in this most like epic, ridiculous fucking place, like Lava Planet lightsaber battles, or like giant fucking inverse skyscraper fucking battles. Just have like a normal, like nice everyday battle in a convenience store, or like in a shopping mall or something. Like, why do they always have to be just these crazy things?
Yeah.
Can it be in the Quickie Mart?
Yeah.
Like with Apu there?
100%. I just want a like normal, average, everyday lightsaber battle. I don't I don't need it to be a cutscene from a Final Fantasy video game all the time.
I think, yeah, they should have one in like a padded room or someplace that's like just completely devoid of like, environmental peril. Like,
Yeah.
they're like always like having a lightsaber battle on like a high wire above like a lava pit or something,
Yeah, totally.
Be funny if they were just like,
which is fine. Like, it's fun, but I just want a boring one. I want one boring lightsaber battle.
They should have a lightsaber battle on like a giant marshmallow.
There you go. I like that.
And occasionally they could dip their lightsabers into the marshmallow and create s'mores. It would be nice.
I like it. Maybe that's how, I mean, this is a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away. Maybe that's how s'mores were invented.
Maybe. It was the first time they ever toasted a marshmallow was with a lightsaber.
Was when a Sith Lord battled a Jedi.
Well done. Bravo. So can we sort of jump back to the dialogue thing for a second?
Nah.
This is sort of, some higher level thoughts and just some, hacking around a bit. But, I wrote the dialogue comment. I also wrote, in line with that, everybody is trying to be so effing funny. That's what I wrote as one of my notes. And there's lots of dashing off. It's always like I felt like the editing and the cuts were just like quick, like almost too quick. It was like they'd show up like at the base, and then they were like, oh my god, and like there's all this stuff going on, and like we did this, but this didn't work, and this is happening, and then okay, we're off, and like they're just gone again. Like everybody's just dashing around all the time, and that funniness. They're trying to be funny and make it so familiar, and it really, Ben, you nailed it when you said it. That just really doesn't work in this movie, and it really doesn't serve this movie at all. And I guess my sort of higher level comment on that is that there's no emotion and there's no tension created. Like, in the very beginning when, Kylo's flying in the ship and he lands on, what's the name of the Sith world? Exeger, something like that. And he's walking into that massive temple. Like there was, you're like excited. You're like, well, what is this? Like, this is really, really cool. Like, you see these hooded figures, and these giant statues of these hooded figures. And you're like, oh, this is very reminiscent of, Jeddah and the statues that were tipped over there, but maybe this is the Sith. And, there's a bit of a buildup there, but like the dialogue throughout the rest of the movie and the way the movie's cut, there's no tension throughout the film. Like you're not like, oh, I hope this happens, or I hope somebody does X, or I hope they get this. It's not there. And I think that was in large part to the dialogue. There's no emotion and tension there, and it really just, I think that's part of what made it flat and really irritated you, Ben, and me too, because I that dialogue was really starting to grate on me by 3/4 of the way through the film.
Yeah, but I mean, I also think you're right. It feels like everything was resolved rather quickly in these scenes. Like there weren't a lot of arcs that sort of like stretched out between, like outside of like maybe Chewie getting taken prisoner or whatever. Like there was a little bit of like, there was like a minute between. I felt like there was a minute between like Chewie being captured and then Chewie being rescued. But a lot of the other scenes, like, it's like you said, Kylo going down into that temple on Exegol or whatever the hell the planet's name was. But it's like literally like, 30 seconds later, we're talking to the Emperor. There's like no tension ratcheted up to that moment. Like, you kind of feel like you would have had to wait for that gratification a little bit. And that seems to just keep happening throughout the movie. Like you said, it's just like everything is like resolved within the scene, Like,
yeah.
That's how it felt to me.
No, that's how it felt to me too. That's what I meant by that sort of quickness, that, or you just added another layer to it. It's like in addition to the quippy, quick dialogue where everybody's trying to be so funny and sound so familiar, like they're such great old friends that they're just constantly bantering like that. The three of us are like actual great old friends, and we don't even banter like that. You know what I mean?
It's true. So
compare and contrast. And like, I don't know, it was super irritating, and it really just took the air out of what could have been something better, because there were some cool story elements in this movie, and I'll use that as a segue, that, just kind of went nowhere. Like, the whole connection between him and Rey was, I feel, was never really fully explored in the last movie and this movie. Like Kylo talking to Harrison, and then, sort of changing his tune completely. Like there was a whole thing there that I thought was pretty cool that just didn't get explored enough. That I feel like it got sort of marginalized in favor of, dipping back into the well we're so familiar with. You know what I mean, guys?
Yes.
No.
Yeah, they wrapped that one up pretty quick.
Right?
Can you say that again? Because I didn't really understand what you meant.
It's okay if you were looking on the internet, Chad. I do that to you all the time.
I wasn't. I was actually listening, and I had no fucking idea what you were getting at.
What I'm saying is that there were elements of the film, right? Like, so we've talked about how they keep dipping back into the well of the familiar. It's Palpatine, It's this, it's that. We know all that. And then the parts that are brand new, like the connection between Rey and Kylo, like, and how they're able to sort of like have these like sort of force dreams, force visions where they're like in the same space and even able to
Force Skyping?
I like that.
Force Skyping?
Force Skype. So when they're
I wonder if it's as crappy as real Skype.
It's just really quick. I mean, I was totally fine with the Force Skyping, through these movies. I was like, okay, I've never seen that before, but I guess, there sort of have been things like that where like, in Empire where like Vader is like calling to Luke after he cuts his hand off and, like Luke, come to me, that kind of stuff, I guess. So I was fine with the Force Skyping, but in this one where Kylo actually takes the necklace from Rey, that was like over the line.
Too much. Okay. All right.
It was kind of interesting though, because JJ was forced to like fast forward through his entire movie, the fact that like the helmet, when he couldn't see where she was and then Vader's helmet falls and the beads, they were like clues to push the plot along. So it was kind of a clever way to push the plot along, but I could totally see why it would be frustrating as well.
Yeah. I mean,
yeah.
It was around then where I stopped taking notes about the little things that were annoying the shit out of me, because I was like, all right, this is just going to be too much of an undertaking here. But yeah, I don't know. I was fine with it, but that took it a little too far for me. I'm like, how they're not in the same place. Like, I was like, well, why the fuck do you need a spaceship then? Why can't you just like,
teleport,
force teleport to another planet? Yeah,
right, exactly. Well, I don't know, to answer Chad's question, finishing my thought, and to now comment on what you just said, like whether that was irritating or not, and I'm with you actually, like that was kind of dumb that they could like, sort of physically manifest in that space. Like they never explored that. Like that wasn't fully fleshed out, Chad, is what I'm saying. Like, yeah, the whole idea of like how they can communicate, and that wasn't fleshed out. And then Kylo's sort of really turning from the dark side back to the light really got sidelined. And those were concepts that weren't from the original well. And it's like, why didn't you take more time exploring that instead of getting into this, like, Palpatine is the Demogorgon combined with Voltron. He lives on the Sith planet, and like, who are the Sith people? Like, where did all those people come from? Like, all of a sudden at the end, they're in this like arena, and there's just like a zillion people there. I'm like, I thought the Sith was like one master, one apprentice, no more. That's it. That was it. And then all of a sudden, there's like all these people, and he's like, yeah, and they're like, yeah. Papa Palpatine, we love you, Papa Palpatine.
I think they were going for kind of like the Bene Gesserit kind of Dune thing, where like all of the old Sith live in Palpatine, and that was a way to visually kind of show of these kind of spirits and stuff. But it was a bit clunky.
Yeah, that's what people are saying, is that they were supposed to be like Sith Force ghosts or whatever, like all the Sith throughout the ages or whatever.
That is ridiculous. Whatever. That is so dumb.
Well, we could get back to it in a minute, but like the whole like I am all the Sith.
Well, hold on, Chad. Does that explain what I was saying? Like what I'm saying is that like Leia training Rey, and that whole thing of Kylo turning, from the dark side to the light side, and like the whole Force. Like what I'm trying to say is that those are ideas that are new, and they spent less time exploring those than they did dipping into the well and trying to make the dialogue sound so effing funny and familiar.
Right.
Does that make more sense?
Yeah. No, It does. I think like the Force Skyping, for example, was explained away in both the last movie and this movie by Snoke saying he was the one that did it. He tricked them both into thinking they could talk to each other. And then in this one was Palpatine being like, I was Snoke the whole time, and I made you guys talk to each other the whole time. And so it's just like,
that was so awful.
It's like explained away, so it's almost worse than ignoring it and not talking about it. It's just like giving it the silliest, resolution, and like you said, not focusing on the new stuff and only like having another Return of the Jedi callback.
What's up with the Knights of Ren? Did they have like the biggest Ringwraiths vibe or what?
Yeah, they did. I didn't even think of that. That's totally the case.
Like, to talk about pulling from other films, like you just mentioned that nice Dune reference, which I totally agree with. Like, I could not stop thinking about it through watching it, was that the Knights of Ren were like the Ringwraiths. I was like, okay.
Totally. I like that. I didn't think about it at the time. It makes perfect sense. And just like your last point, I don't know why the hell they didn't flesh out the Knights of Ren over the last 3 movies.
Yeah.
Exactly. Like, there you go. There's another great thing that they could have explored without, Papa Palpatine. We don't need Papa Palpatine.
Hey, but ramping up the cheesy comedy, we did get to see a stormtrooper comment on the Knights of Ren in this movie.
What did it say? I don't remember.
Knights of Ren? Cool.
Oh, God.
Literally, I don't know if that's exactly what it was, but like the Knights of Ren walk by and there are 2 like stormtroopers like guarding a door, and like one's like, whoa, right, Knights of Ren, cool.
Oh, God.
So ridiculous.
Bad. So dumb. I know. And how about the shiny red stormtrooper outfits for the First Order? Just, I'm not going to use the word that I want to use, but terrible.
Yeah. It was like obviously trying to go for the Emperor's Guard red stormtrooper thing, but
no.
Can we talk about the biggest no for me?
Yeah.
The biggest no for me, like, is the end of this sentence, not the beginning. But like, of course there's Ewoks and freaking Porgs and mini-me droid mechanics and stuff, but halfway through the movie, I was like, at least there won't be any goddamn horse race like there was in the Casino Planet, and then those freaking horses are running on a Star Destroyer. Like, claw my goddamn eyes out. Like, what are you doing?
Man. You knew they were going to launch a ground attack on a Star Destroyer. I mean,
like, just
why wouldn't they?
I just love how I was just like, at least there won't be any horses, and then there's some freaking horses.
God, I love the irony of that whole thing. Ben, I think that the horses are to Star Wars what the helicarriers are to Marvel for Chad.
Totally. Right? 100%.
And that's broad with the horse creatures. It's horse-esque creatures.
Okay. One quick thing about the horses, though, that I did like is they were actual dressed up horses.
Were they? That's cool.
Like they did.
Yeah.
Like they did with those, it was like, there was like a desert creature with like big horns that was like an elephant dressed up or something in the first movie, right? Like,
yeah, right.
Yeah, the banthas.
I don't remember what it was. Is that a bantha? Okay. So.
Oh, you mean the lizard creatures or the banthas?
No, the big hairy horned creature. Yeah. So these were, they I'm pretty sure were actual horses wearing costumes.
Yeah, that is cool. I liked them just fine on the planet, the Death Star on the Endor planet. I liked them just fine there. I just didn't like them sideways on a freaking Star Destroyer.
Chad, if I may just make a correction and add in another analog to an Earth location, it was not the Endor planet. It was the Highlander planet, because that was definitely Scotland. And the only thing that was missing from that was Connor McLeod and Ramirez.
Sean Connery.
And Kurgan showing up out of nowhere, because they were galloping around all over the...
and Chuck Connors?
The Scottish Highlanders and their Chuck Connors on their horses, Like, there can be only one.
I love it.
There can be only one Star Wars trilogy.
I 100% agree with that.
Is that Booberry? Could have sworn it was Booberry.
Booberry and Christopher Lambert are one and the same, almost. It's an ancient donut recipe from the Belgian Highlands. Anyway, sorry, I was galloping over what you were saying, Chad. Go ahead.
Oh, great reverse segue. What did you guys think of the Death Star wreckage thing? Meh? Yeah? No?
Dumb. Wreckage? Hello, it exploded.
Fair.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. It just seemed like fan service.
Yeah, oh, it was 100% fan service.
What the hell? What was? Oh, Rey needed to get like the holocron from there or whatever, right? That was where they were.
The holocron, yeah.
She needed to get the MacGuffin that there were conveniently two of.
The MacGuffin, exactly. The McMuffin.
Yeah. The green McMuffin.
Yeah, so Rey had to get the McMuffin so that they could, do the ultimate thing against the ultimate evil and the ultimate weapon and snore, and then it was the cringy ending. And Ben mentioned the word cringy in the beginning of this film. Sorry, I'm just going to hijack whatever anybody was talking about. Ben used the word cringy at the beginning of this podcast episode, and I wrote cringy ending, and I cannot tell you how many times I was watching this and I was like, cringy. It was just cringy dialogue after cringy dialogue. That was the other part of the dialogue that was just horrifying. Like the ending with just the hugging and the loving was just, I was cringing. I was just cringing, man. It was so not good.
Can we touch on that love interest thing? Like, it's not worth digging into because I don't really care about the soap opera, but that was a gripe I had, was everyone has a girlfriend at the end, It's just like, come on, guys. Can we not just...
Oh, right. Yeah.
Kylo and Rey kiss and then he dies. It's just like, what the hell is that? The only sound in the entire movie.
Oh, man. Yeah, wait. Hold on. Kylo and Ren kissing. No. That just,
Kylo and Rey.
I cringed. I wanted to vomit. I think I did vomit in my mouth a little bit and then swallowed it back down. Like, it was just, why was that there? No.
Yeah, the only reaction in my theater, other than like occasional laughs at funny bits, was a woman just being like, oh no, when that happened. I thought it was pretty funny.
Wait, she said, oh no, when they kissed?
Yeah, she was just like, no! It's like, yeah, right on.
Oh, her no was, no, this shouldn't be in the film.
Probably, no, they shouldn't have kissed. No, it shouldn't be in the film. And she wanted somebody else to hook up with somebody else, I guess.
Everybody was waiting for Reylo, man. Come on.
Reylo? Oh my God!
That's an actual thing. Like, I didn't make that up.
You didn't make that up?
I did not make that up, man. No.
Oh, God.
No, but... why they bothered seems stupid. If they were just going to kill off Ben, why the fuck did they bother?
Yeah.
Well, not only that, but Ben, why? If they're just going to kill him off like that, there you go. There's a whole nother story thing that didn't get explored. Like they kiss. Okay, so let's just take away my cringy reaction to the kiss and the fact that I don't even think it should be in the film. It's like, okay, well, let's put it in the film. Well, why are you not exploring that? And why do they not? There's no like emotional tension between the two of them up until the point when he dies. They're just kind of like, hey, we're, going to the store to get soda. Like, you know what I mean? It just.
Not to mention that like, let's just say for the sake of argument, he doesn't die and they do hook up like in the old school kind of really old school Knights of the Round Table kind of stuff. You've got the Palpatines and the Skywalkers making a baby and kind of combining two kingdoms, like it could be a really interesting space to go explore that story, like you said, but
yeah. And original content, original lore. But again, they chose, go back to the well.
Yeah. Getting back to the Kylo, like the dissatisfying Kylo, I didn't quite get the, why he just disappeared at the end. Like it just seemed, it was a very dissatisfying end to that arc. Because I was actually kind of psyched to see him turn to the light side. I was like, all right, I like this. This is cool. And I was looking forward to some like another back-to-back, like a good back-to-back lightsaber fight with Rey and him. But it just they just stomped it out so quick.
Yeah, they really did. They really did.
Didn't seem like, I don't know, just didn't seem necessary.
Yeah, I found his whole thing to be incredibly dissatisfying.
Well, I don't know how about you guys, but I definitely think Kylo is his thread throughout all three movies, regardless of how they tied it up. Like he is my favorite character in these movies. I love his arc, even though I don't like the way they finished his arc. The petulant teenager as a Jedi, I really enjoyed. Like, let's just like take Adam Driver out of this and make him Anakin in the prequels. Like, I think he did like idiot teenager does dumb things really well.
Agreed.
I really enjoyed Kylo.
I agree with you. He was, kind of stepping back and looking at the whole thing. Yeah, it was good. I mean, they had the bones in this trilogy of something good. And there's definitely some great characters in there. Poe's a great character. Rey's a great character. Finn's a great character. There's a lot of great characters in there. And they just went in a not great direction with it.
Shifting gears, I have a question for you guys. Or at least, a question. What was your reaction to Chewie dying before you knew that they turned it around 5 minutes later?
I didn't, because I knew he wasn't dead.
Yeah.
And it wasn't because I watched the movie. I just knew it. I was like, he's not dead. He's going to be in the wreckage or some bullshit or whatever.
Yeah. I had the same reaction.
Really? Yeah, see, I had the, total Akbar thing. I was just like, oh my God, they just Akbar'd Chewie.
Yeah, I mean, it just did not seem like, I'm like, they wouldn't stoop that low. That just seems... why the fuck did they need to get Chewie out of the movie that quickly and and have him have just such a ridiculous send off?
Yeah,
it just didn't make. I didn't believe it. I was like, no way.
See, I bought it, man. The first reaction, leading up to that, I was just kind of getting to the point where the whole first half hour is moving really quick and they're really trying to cover a lot of ground. And then they're doing a lot of Return of the Jedi throwbacks. And I just got to the point where I was just like, Jesus, do something different. And then all of a sudden they kill Chewie. And then I was like, I don't know how I feel about this. That's bullshit. Don't do that. And then I thought, I was like, well, that's pretty ballsy if they did that. Okay, let's see what they do with this.
Right.
And then 2 minutes later, he's not dead, so I definitely bought it at the time because of the Akbar thing,
Yeah.
Wait, what's the Akbar thing? Remind me, please.
In the last movie, Akbar is sitting on the bridge with Leia and they're doing a whole bunch of stuff and a ship comes in and blasts the thing and Akbar just dies in vacuum. Never see him again. He's dead now.
Oh, yes, you're right. That's right.
They take one of the most beloved, if not underutilized characters and just completely just discard him and then have some random, Laura Dern saves the day with her hyperspace jump, which could have just been Akbar. You're I just don't understand. I just don't get it.
Yeah.
So if they're gonna knock Akbar out like that, I could totally see them stooping that low for Chewie. But yeah, I don't know. Maybe I was just dug in a little too much to believe that they actually would kill him off.
But did he die? I can't remember.
No,
he didn't.
No, it was
no. I know that there was the fake death with the transport, and they thought he was dead, but he wasn't dead. But then did he not die later?
No.
Okay.
He didn't die later, which leads to another, which is, what do you guys think of Chewie's medal?
Better late than never, I guess.
His medal?
Yeah, he was given a medal.
He was?
Did you miss that bit?
I totally missed that.
Yeah. Who gives it to him?
Someone from the base. I don't know. So one of the longest standing tropes or gripes in the Star Wars universe is that in the end of Star Wars, the original episode 4, everyone gets a medal but Chewie, and it's total BS, and he should have gotten a medal because he was along for it, and it was, so you can understand people getting a bit of nerd rage on that.
Mm-hmm.
And then in this movie, JJ chose to make amends by having a lady come out and being like, Chewie, this is for you, and giving him a medal.
Yeah, that's kind of funny, but at the end of this crappy movie, not so much.
Yeah.
Well, it was Leia wanted you to have this.
Yeah.
And it was one of the very same medals it was the exact medal. So I don't know. For me, it was a good thought that was poorly executed. I was just, in episode 4, everyone is green, never been involved in the big fights before, and total noobs, and they save the day, and then everyone gets together and golf claps them while they get medals, and it makes kind of total sense for a new soldier to be stoked about it. 30 years later, after a million gunfights, Chewie isn't going to give a crap about a medal. He's a grizzled old soldier, you know what I mean? It just seemed like such a weird thing to do.
Yeah, it definitely.
He lost everyone that he loved, and then they're here's a gold medal, dude.
Yeah. Oh, here's your consolation prize.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was very afterthought.
Yeah, maybe. That was straight up fan service all the way.
I'm almost convinced that was one of the reshoots. JD was like, "Oh fuck, we gotta give Chewie the medal. Let's shoot the scene really quick. Get him out of here."
I would love to shift gears and just touch on a few tidbits similar to the last couple episodes. We just had little random nuggets that I thought were interesting or funny or dumb or whatever.
Sure.
I have an appreciation / hatred for the alien Burning Man Zion party.
On the desert planet?
Before they ran into Lando, they were at like Alien Elephant Burning Man or whatever.
Right.
Oh my god, yeah, it was like Squid People Burning Man, yeah.
Yeah, they're like having a freaking interpretive dance party, and yeah, it was funny. I didn't hate it. It was just kind of like, okay, guys. What did you guys think of the Solo cameo? I thought that was a bit weird. Like, I didn't hate it, and like I could see why recreating the Kylo Han Solo conversation on the bridge again made sense, but it was just kind of weird.
I think they did that because they didn't have. I feel like Carrie was supposed to be there.
Yeah, maybe that's a good point.
And I think probably the only reason that Harrison Ford agreed to do it was because of that. He was like, oh, all right, I'll come in and do it. So that's sort of how I took it, but it didn't annoy the shit out of me. I saw like what they were trying to do there.
It was more confusing than annoying for me, but that makes a lot of sense what you just said.
Yeah.
I got like legit choked up when Chewie screamed in grief when Leia died. That was well handled. I really appreciated that Chewie had a moment to like actually grieve the death of one of his really close friends.
Yeah. All right, I can get down with that. Yeah, definitely.
Doesn't say much when you're moved by the the dude in a creature outfit who doesn't even speak. Like, you're moved by that, but somehow not moved by anything else in the movie. Like, it says something about what's going on with these films. But I totally agree with you. Yeah.
The last little nugget I've got is Kylo's super glue helmet. I thought that was really funny.
Yeah. What the fuck?
It's just like the random elf dude or dwarf dude from Ragnarok plastic welds Kylo's helmet together with a bunch of red super glue. It's just like, okay, guys. So you can sell another Kylo Ren helmet to poor kids as a merch thing.
Yeah, don't forget it was glowing red super glue.
Oh, sorry.
And then someone commented on it afterwards, right? Like,
yeah. One of the officers and one of the troopers.
Was it Hux, the dude that was the spy that gets shot 10 seconds later?
Yeah, it might have been. It would be fitting if it was Hux, yeah. But I don't remember who it was.
And that was interesting, too. The Hux as the spy political thing was kind of like, okay.
Yeah, that was fine.
Yeah, it was. But it was just poorly done. I mean, then at the end, he was like, but I really hate Kylo, so you're friends of mine. Bye. And then he dies. I was like, all right.
Maybe another example, like you said, of something that could have been fleshed out, but instead they went back to the Return of the Jedi grab bag.
Yes, the grab bag. There you go. I think we should talk about the ending, which contained one of the best lines in the film, which I've said about 8 million times since I've seen it already. And then we should rate it and wrap it, man.
Hang on, you're skipping over something really important.
Oh, I'm sorry, Chad. Go ahead.
I would like to announce to the world that I really enjoyed hearing the final John Williams score. So even if the score wasn't the best of all 9 movies, it was just awesome to have him complete out the 9 movies as the composer.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I definitely get down with that. John Williams is great, and he's done a lot of great work. And his score music was excellent through all of the films. So kudos to John.
Absolutely. And stoked that he got a little cameo in there. Make sure you keep an eye out for that next time.
Yes.
So if you want to chat about the end, I hope that part of that is the Rey on Tatooine bit.
No, I was talking about before that, when the whole thing is coming crashing down around them, when the final order, the final order is just starting to disintegrate, And it's like, the evil British generals on the bridge of the ship. It's like, you're evil and British as well? Yes, I'm evil and British as well. I'm part of the final order. And then it's like, oh my goodness, where did all those ships come from? The Resistance doesn't have a navy. And then the guy goes, that's not a navy. They're just people.
That's funny, man.
Oh, God.
And then they all just get blown to shit.
You're like, yep, there we go.
Yeah, I couldn't stop saying that when we left the film yesterday. My daughter was laughing.
Profound. And knowing is half the battle.
This is like the Million Man March moment of the Star Wars universe. It's like when all of society shows up. Like a few minutes earlier in the film, they were like, go forth and tell everybody. Every system you go to, just tell them tell them what's happening. And I was like, okay. Like, that's going to work? Like, whatever. And then literally everybody shows up at the end.
Every ship in the universe.
You know, it's like when Gary Oldman in The Professional.
Totally.
He's like, Benny, I want you to bring me everyone. And he goes, everyone, Stan? And he goes, everyone!
I love that.
And that's who shows up.
Over the top, Gary Oldman.
Gotta love him.
Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah. I'm gonna throw a clip in there too. You know it.
Bring me everyone. What do you mean everyone?
Kevin, another thing that would have improved the film, I think, when the evil British general guy is about to say people, they should just cut to the end of Soylent Green. People! It's people!
That's amazing.
Oh my God, yeah, absolutely. It's people! Soylent Green is people!
You guys are crazy. So let's touch on Rey on Tatooine and close this thing out. What did you guys think of that? The whole literal callback.
Dumb.
Yep.
Just dumb.
Enough said. And saying she was Rey Skywalker was kind of weird.
Yeah, I mean, is that whole scene was just designed so that she could say, I'm Rey Skywalker.
Yeah.
You know, old hermity woman just happens to pop by and like, I haven't seen anyone here. And
yeah.
You know, like, what? Like, where the fuck did you come from? Like, it's like open desert for miles in every direction. Like,
it's like some lady walking around collecting cans and sticking them in a shopping trolley.
Yeah.
No, dude, it was one of the mothers, man. It was one of the mothers from Mad Max Fury Road, dude. Here's where everything ties together. It's one of the mothers. And she's like, I haven't seen you before. Hasn't been anybody around here in years. Who are you?
Rey Skywalker.
And she's like, I'm Rey Skywalker.
Then suddenly the theme song from Benny Hill starts to play.
Yeah, exactly, man. And you know what? Ben, you'll love this, man. When everybody started hugging at the end, you know, and everybody's got a girlfriend part. In the forest, I leaned over to my daughter and I started going, everything's okay.
All right. Ratings. Nobody died, by the way.
No, we didn't. Wow. Like, legitimately, none of us that perished this week.
No documented deaths. No.
You know what died this week, ladies and gentlemen? Skywalker Saga is officially dead.
Yes. In this episode, everybody dies first. Nobody dies.
Ratings?
Algorithm, you want to go first, or Higo, you want to go first?
Sure, I'll go first. Give Benny a chance to come up with something funny.
Okay. I've got it, by the way. So
perfect.
You know he does.
3 out of 5 midichlorians.
No, it's gonna be better than that.
So yeah, rating. I don't really fucking care. Rating this one. I don't really care. The first thing that I wrote when I came out of the theater and sat down to brain dump my notes was, there is only one trilogy.
I like it.
And it's bookended by a trilogy of stupidity and a trilogy of impotence. That was the first thing I wrote down.
Okay.
So this trilogy was impotent. They didn't try anything new. They just remade old stuff, and it was probably because the studio made them do it. And then the original trilogy, you know, has its moments here and there. I tend to dislike it pretty thoroughly, but I think you're right, Kev, that this trilogy ends up elevating it, which is really something to be said. And so as far as I'm concerned, there's only one trilogy, and it's 4, 5, and 6. And I'm happy to continue exploring the Star Wars universe with Mandalorian and other movies, but as we said, or as I said in the Star Wars Must Die episode, I'm super thankful that it's dead.
Yeah, yeah.
So, you know, in the grand scheme of things, I thought this movie on its own, outside of the saga, it was good. I didn't hate the film. I really didn't like the last one, The Last Jedi. But this was a good movie. It was fine. And so I'll just, you know, a flat 5.0 for me, which is just inside of the good movie rating.
Wow. Okay. Higro, you want to go next?
Sure. Yeah. Pretty much I'm mirroring everything you said, Chad. It's a full on what you said in all ways, including the rating. This one is getting 5 out of 10. Better late than never, I guess. Chewy metals.
Oh, yes. Yes. My favorite part of the show is waiting to hear what you're going to rate stuff.
I know. I really like that too. And I like that it's powered by the improbability drive.
Yes.
Yeah.
It is.
Schrodinger's rating.
Yes. So you've got the algorithm. Ben has the improbability driven rating system. And then I just have, whatever comes out of good old Mulvey's mouth.
Oh, you know what? Hang on a second. I'm sorry. I'm just looking at this algorithm.
Folks, we have a potential controversy and a discrepancy here. Hang on 1 second.
I'm calling an audible because I'm looking at my algorithm, and the borderline between a 4 movie, which is a borderline movie, and a 5 movie, which is a good movie, is like There Will Be Blood, Bullet, Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom, Sunshine, like pretty fucking good movies.
Dude, those are excellent movies. What are you talking?
Yeah.
This movie is nowhere near those movies.
Yeah, so I'm with you on that one. So this is really like, this just throws everything out of whack. I think I'll go with like Solo's better. I reckon this movie's better than Solo. I know that you don't agree, but
oh my God, dude, come on, Chad. You're better than that. This movie is not better than Solo.
You think so? I need to rewatch Solo. All right, I'm going to have to take your word for it.
Dude, I watched it last night and I was like, Lando was awesome. The robots were awesome. Everybody was great.
Yeah. All right. So I apologize for taking everyone on a journey here, but I'm going to rate this one a 4.4, and it is officially better than Brave Little Toaster.
Wow. Brave Little Toaster.
Kev?
You guys have said it. I've already said it during the course of the episode. There were things in this film that should have been explored that were not explored. Plot points, arcs, what have you, that would have made a better film than what we got. Dipping back into the original the original trilogy, I don't know, man. I'm not into it. Doesn't work. I want to see something new. My advice to anybody that's listening to this is just go watch The Mandalorian and go watch Solo, because I watched Solo last night after I saw this, and I really enjoyed watching Solo after watching that.
And you're a huge fan of Rogue One.
I'm a huge fan of Rogue One, and I wasn't like super stoked about Solo when it came out. And you can say what you want about the actor that played Solo. I think he gave it his all, at the very least.
Yeah, I think he's fine.
I think he's great. And the rest of that cast, that's a solid movie, man. It's a good movie, and it's definitely better than this movie, which we renamed Star Wars: Rise of Papa Palpatine. All of that being said, I wish they had explored some of the elements that they brought into this film, and they didn't. And for that, there was just the dialogue was just awful, and the familiarity that they were going for, and just the cringiness of so many parts of this movie. I'm going to give this movie a 3.8 on the Mulvey mouth brain Richter scale. It's bad.
3.8. Wow.
Yeah, 3.8 out of 10. That may be a little bit harsh, but yeah, 3.8. I mean, this movie's got a lot to live. This movie has a lot to live up to. And, as we've done this podcast, and as I mentioned in the beginning, I've been thinking about the prequel trilogy, and I'm like, yeah, there's a lot of great things going on in those movies, when you put them side to side with this sort of mess, so.
I like it, man. Ballsy.
Mm-hmm. Hey, man, not far off of your 4.4 or Jarhigo's 5. So really,
No, not at all.
Yeah. I mean, I just wanted I didn't want any portions of metal in there. I wanted full metals. So.
A jacket.
I probably would have gone with a 4 point something, but what are you going to do with a portion of a medal? It just doesn't make any sense.
Not a goddamn thing.
Oh, fair enough. I only usually do like 0.5s when I do my ratings, but this one I'm giving a special dispensation to.
I love it.
So anyway, moving on, I would like to, even though I do this at the end of every episode, I would like to thank all of the listeners out there for tuning into this new show of ours this year. We really appreciate it, and we're glad that you have joined us for the ride, because we really enjoy doing it. And happy holidays to everybody. And Algorithm, what do we have on deck next? I'm excited.
We are going to be concluding our discussion of The Watchmen Season 1, which is going to be a really good chat.
So stay tuned for that next time.
Sounds good.
Do you guys want to thank all the people at home?
Thanks, everybody. We love you. And I also really enjoy making this show and really appreciate you taking the time to listen.
Ditto.
There you go. I like it. Thanks again, folks, and we will see you on another time.
See ya.
Smell you later.
And that's going to wrap up this week's episode, folks. Next week, we're going to be talking about Season 1 of Watchmen, so definitely stay tuned for that. You can find the show notes for today's episode in your podcast app of choice or at our website, ebd.fm/episodes/35. You can shoot us questions using the Twitter hashtag AskEBD. You can find me at Wolverine on Twitter, that's MOHLVERINE. Chad is at Chad Normal on Twitter. Ben is at Jarhigo on Twitter. That's JARHEEGO. As always, I'd like to take a minute and thank everybody for tuning into the show. It means so much to me and the boys. And if you'd like to support the show, there are a couple of great ways you can do it. The first is by rating and reviewing us on iTunes or wherever you get your podcast Christmas cookies. You can also tell someone you know to check out the show. Word of mouth is incredibly powerful and incredibly effective. Thanks so much for tuning into the show. Have a great holiday season, and we'll see you next time.
Let's go out with something really hot for these folks. A big hit out of 77. Star Wars, nothing but Star Wars. Give me the Star Wars, don't let them end. Star Wars, if they should bar wars, please let these Star Wars stay. And hey, how about that nutty Star Wars bar? Can you forget all the creatures in there? And hey, Darth Vader in that black and evil mask, did he scare you as much as he scared me? Star Wars, those near it far